Good evening, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Cambodia Global Dialogue or Southeast Asia TV. Tonight we have the pleasure to discuss a topic that are very much in the mind of many Cambodian, many people in the region and in the world for that matter. It's all about the Chinese initiative, the Belt and Road. Last month they organized the Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation, and the Cambodian delegation led by like Prime Minister Hun Sen was there also, and I had the pleasure today to have two think tank researchers, Dr. Vannarith and Dr. Thearith, to come and share their perspective on what they think the Belt and Road is all about, and what's the effect, impact on Cambodia and in the region as a whole, and what is there in terms of lesson, in terms of experience, can we draw from what we can get out of it. So anyway, Thearith and Vannarith, similar name, a bit confusing. I like to ask you to share your perspective, but before that, maybe you can each give a few minutes of your particular background, professional background, what you do today, currently, so the audience can have a good feel about.
Thank you. I'm Vannarith Chhieng. I'm currently serving as a president of the new think tank in Cambodia, the Asian Vision Institute, and my field of expertise is geopolitical risk analyst and geoeconomic analysis with a focus on Southeast Asia. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And I understand you're also a professor in Leeds University?
Yeah, I was a lecturer at the University of Leeds for 3 years, 2013 to 16.
Okay, all right. Thearith?
Yeah, thanks, Excellency. My name is Leng Thearith. Nowadays I'm working as the director of the Mekong Center for Strategic Study at the Asian Vision Institute.
All right.
And before that I graduated, I got my PhD from University of New South Wales, Australia. Just last year.
Is that right?
Yes.
Good. Wow.
Thank you.
Wine, just open the bottle.
Yes.
Good perspective, fresh perspective.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go to the point. Were you at the forum in Beijing?
No.
Okay, you didn't go.
Yeah.
But you've been following
yes.
the Belt and Road for quite a while. For the audience, benefit, perhaps you can give a bit of background on the Belt and Road.
Yeah. The Belt and Road was a grand initiative by President Xi Jinping. I think it's one of his legacy, perhaps, for the foreign policy of China. Was created in 2013, so now it's more than 5 years old. It's very ambitious initiative because it covers 3 continents from Asia to Europe and Africa. And who knows, in the future can cover Latin America or North America.
Or North America, you never know.
We never know, because I think the principle of Belt and Road is inclusive. It's not an exclusive club, so very clear. So I think different partners, those who are interested in this initiative can be part of it. So I think the second forum in Beijing, it was very successful in terms of the political support, because I think the number of the heads of the states or government double compared with the first forum, 2017.
2017.
So that showed strong political support from international.
Would you say it's a bit more mature now?
It's a bit more mature. I think after the 5 years of experimenting and implementing the Belt and Road, I think many leaders around the world come to appreciate and embrace this initiative, because, as I said, it's not exclusive club. It is very inclusive, and everyone welcome to contribute in terms of inputs and policy design and action plan and so on.
Well, I happened to be there for the first forum, and it's interesting. Every UN agency was there. I assume it's the same thing this time, right?
Yes, sure. International organizations like UN, World Bank, IMF, the chief of IMF also there. And other international organizations from Africa and Asia also present.
Interesting. Thearith, what's your view on that?
I think the Belt and Road Initiative is very relevant to many countries in the world. Although at the very inception there has been suspicions that this kind of Belt and Road Initiative is kind of smokescreen of political agenda of China. But in my opinion, it's not this way. It's provide a lot of benefits for many countries around the world, including Cambodia. Yeah.
Well, I would say, benefit have to be both ways for sure, right?
Yeah.
But what motivates China to come up with that initiative?
I think China is growing very fast, especially over the past 2 decades. So China need to claim its responsibility and leadership
It's space under the sun.
Yeah, so region and global. So if you look at the vision of China is to become a global power by 2049. So Belt and Road is the means or vehicle for China to realize that dream or vision 2049. So looking from now is more than 2 decades from now. So that is a long-term vision, and Belt and Road is a long-term project.
But economically, there are also concern that the economic growth of China is so dependent on external market, and perhaps that's also another reason. Domestic market is not enough to sustain their exponential growth over the last couple of decades.
What we can see is from economic dimension, China is transition from a production-based economy to consumption-based economy. So that is a right strategy, because I think when the economic development level reach a certain point, definitely you become a consumption-based economy. So I think the one of the key interests for China is to deal with the surplus of productions, because it's a manufacturing industry, a production-based. So now it's transition to consumption-based. So you have to export productions to other countries, and the Belt and Road is a mechanism for China to export production.
Yes, and
go ahead.
And also, I think beside the economic reasons, we have also see the political reason. Actually, when you have the economic power, normally you will project the political power to other countries
by default.
By default. So it's I think China also want to sooner or later want to replace the United States as a global power. So
ambition.
Yes, this is ambition.
It's fine for every country should have some ambition.
Yeah, exactly.
It's no different than us. We, as a post-crisis country, about 3 decades ago, we also have an ambition to be a global player, or at least a regional player. And I would say right now, I mean, the vision of the leadership of this country is to project that we are a stable country. And for your information, our Prime Minister have decided to host the ASEM Summit next year. It's 51 countries, all Europe and Asia, plus EU and ASEAN. And in terms of thought leadership, to be able to say, look, my country can host a summit at that level. That's leadership also. So it's okay to have ambition, and when you have ambition, you work hard toward it.
Exactly.
So it's a good point. It's a good point to it.
Thank you.
Well, I think this is also a challenge that, as Thearith mentioned earlier, that the China wish to replace the U.S. as a superpower or number one.
Yeah, number one.
So that is the reason why the U.S. Find it as a risk for the United States, and the U.S. has started to counter China and the Belt and Road by introducing the concept of Indo-Pacific, for instance. So I think that is the new dynamics in terms of major power competition. I think the Belt and Road and Indo-Pacific is somehow is two institutions that competing with each other. So that create opportunity, also risk for us.
I would say sometimes competition, it's good also, because when you don't have competition, people tend to be, well, I'm there already. There's no contender. It's like a boxing match, right? If you have no challenger, after a while, it's not exciting. But I think on the serious side, if you look at the effort that China is expanding in the Belt and Road, surely it has brought benefit many benefit to many countries, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of skepticism, there's a lot of suspicion for sure. Like anything, you know, when you come up with any grand idea, there's always both sides of the coin, right? So, but in terms of negative perception, what is it that bothers people?
In my opinion, the Belt and Roads in terms of negative points are that first of all, the Chinese development project that does not take into account the perception of the local people.
Okay.
It seems this is what I heard, and
Yeah,
also my
okay.
observation.
Okay.
The Chinese companies tend to employ their own nationals rather than the local people, and that's why many locals, they do not like it.
Okay.
Yeah, and the second thing is the China Belt and Road tend to create a debt trap,
Okay.
like the case of Sri Lanka or
Yes.
Pakistan.
Mm.
And this is the second criticism, and the third one is that the China's Belt and Road developments tend to neglect the green growth or green development.
Okay.
Care less about the environmental protection,
okay,
so on and
okay.
so forth. Yeah.
But Vannarith, I mean, let's face it, it's always trial and error in any grand scheme or small scheme when you start initiative. It's always trial and error. The Belt and Road is no different.
Yeah.
You know, when President Xi Jinping launched 2013, if you ask most of the foreign Chinese official, they are not sure what it is anyway. It's a trial and error. I would say it was launched, but it was not really there until 2017, when China feel secure enough to know that, okay, we know what the Belt and Road is doing. That's why they convened the first forum. So 2 years later, last month, they have the second forum. So I think there are certain stability now, and to be fair to them, right? Because I received quite a bit of, when I was chairing CDI as chair there, we received quite a bit of Chinese think tank coming to Cambodia, and they told me that they've been going to many different countries to also listen to the concern, of the local people also. So what you say, it's correct, but at least they're listening, and they were rectified. But I think it's also about how you can push also the local government, to also take care of a certain governance issue as well. I mean, let's face it, you cannot just put the blame on the Chinese company, because when they come to a particular country, whether Sri Lanka, or Pakistan, or Cambodia, or other country, they have to deal with the administration, right? So to me, my message would be, yes, they have concern, but what we as a country, what we should do to make sure that compliance with the labor law, for example, compliance with the construction law, for example, compliance with green growth policy. I think these are the things that we should look more inward, to counter that, right? Because you see, there's a certain dark side of capitalism, right? Company go after profit. They are not the good Samaritan. So you cannot have a purely free market. The state have to step in. Vannarith.
I think it's a huge area of gray zone here. There's no black and white, and I think the Belt and Road have some shortcomings, as you raised earlier, a lot of criticism and complaints and with regard to Belt and Road projects. But I think look at the remarks of the President Xi Jinping last week and the joint communique. We could clearly understand that China is adjusting to those concerns, especially when he mentioned and he stressed actually clean, sustainable infrastructure and high quality infrastructure. So this is
Belt and Road 2.0.
2.0. So that is something that I think China is pragmatic and quite responsive and flexible with all this, and I don't think President Xi or China as a whole want to see Belt and Road as a failure. They want to see it as a success. So for the Belt and Road to be a success, they need to listen to all this criticism and critics and use it as an improvement for the future development of Belt and Road.
Yeah, like you say, we call it Belt and Road 2.0, 1.0. It's like a telephone, 4G, 5G. It's continuous improvement, right? I mean, even in Cambodia, I mean, let's say we say 3G, 4G, but sometimes it's not, you have no service. But but you have to complain to the company, say, look, man, I mean, you're advertising, you say it's 4G, but I don't have service as soon as I leave Phnom Penh, right?
Yeah.
Then they say, my God, maybe our coverage outside Phnom Penh is not good. So they will make effort, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think at the end, I would say our role is important. When I say our, not just us, but I'm saying society as a whole, government as a whole, private sector as a whole, we have to be able to voice, our concern, what we saw, and then hopefully they will rectify it. I would say maybe Belt and Road 3.0 will be green, will be green growth. We should be green Belt and Road.
Yeah, I'm also very optimistic, like Dr. Vannarith said. When I read the Belt and Road's joint communique, I saw like China revise a lot after they listening, to many countries' opinion, and they revise it. So that means China's want also their prestige, want their name to be recognized by others. So this is sure.
Well, Vannarith, I want to go a bit at the meso level, because we've been covering quite a bit at the political macro level, but the meso level in terms of institutional connectivity. And then later on we can talk at a very micro level, which is project-based, people-to-people level, right? But at the institutional level, what do you see the connectivity between China and other countries that they have worked with under the Belt and Road?
I think it's still a challenge when it comes to institutional connectivity. I think we need more dialogue and time to discuss, especially when it comes to, let's say, to connect the Belt and Road with the ASEAN Master Plan of Connectivity. It's not only policy coordination, economic connectivity, but also political issue. Some ASEAN member states are concerned that if they link ASEAN connectivity with the Belt and Road initiative, they are afraid that it will be dominated by China.
Yes.
Absorbed by China, merged to the Belt and Road, overwhelmed by China and so on. So that is a very complicated issue. So how China, because as a big country, you have heavier responsibility to ensure that the other small states along the Belt and Road are not afraid of our dominance of China in this. So this is very important, and until that concern is released or solved, then I think institutional connectivity and policy coordination can go smoothly.
Well, perhaps China should be more magnanimous when they deal with smaller states.
I saw, sorry, to jump in. When I read the communique, I saw like China also recognized the existing framework of cooperation of ASEAN, like EPS18 or ASEAN Master Plan Connectivity 2025. So that means China, I think, has no ambition to absorb, if you have the intention to do that. So
complementarity is the word.
Yeah, complementary.
But again, I'm back to my original premise that one cannot always point a finger out. You have to always look inward also.
Exactly.
What can a country in ASEAN do to make sure that you negotiate a better deal? What can ASEAN as a grouping do so that it can maintain the identity of its own master plan of ASEAN connectivity? And how do you strike a balance to say, look, the Belt and Road is there, we have an ASEAN thing, how can we complement each other?
Yeah, I think the word complementary is very important. And also diversification. So ASEAN, I think most of ASEAN leaders have recognized that they need to diversify. So actually, Indo-Pacific strategy is another option for ASEAN to diversify. And Europe, last year they also have a Europe-Asia connectivity plan. So Europe also provide an option for ASEAN. So ASEAN quite smart in terms of playing this game, diversification of infrastructure development. It's not only by China or Belt and Road, but they have other options like Indo-Pacific and Europe,
Japan, quality infrastructure,
those kind of stuff. So I think it's a smart strategy that ASEAN member state and ASEAN as a whole try to diversify this kind of strategic partners.
Thearith?
Oh yes, I think, yeah, ASEAN has been hedging. ASEAN at the centrality, as you know, like Dr. Vannarith already mentioned. We not only forge our close relations with China, but also other country or region like European Union or the United States. And as you may know, maybe next year when we have the ASEAN meeting, maybe the problem, the issue of connectivity will be mentioned again. And I think the ASEAN very smart.
Yes. Well, you mentioned ASEAN centrality is very important, and we as an ASEAN member country should make sure that we are united in that position, and I think that's the only way that we can assure, our, I would say, raison d'être, reason of being ASEAN, right? Because a small country, 16 million people, Laos, 6-7 million people, we're too small to matter. But as a grouping, it's different ballgame. So I think here again, in the context of Belt and Road, I like to position that ASEAN should be quite, I would say, open-minded in the sense that, yes, we are, inclusive. China say you're inclusive, so why can we find area of overlapping? Bearing in mind that, with this ASEAN centrality, we also welcome Japan, enhance quality infrastructure, for example.
So I think the way forward for ASEAN, I think the word centrality is a key term. It's not only the mechanism for ASEAN to convene the meetings, to set agenda, but also for all the member states to learn how to harmonize their national interests with the ASEAN collective interests. And sometimes we need to prioritize collective interests ahead of national interests in order to ensure that we stay united with one voice, and so that ASEAN centrality can be strengthened. So because now I think nationalism is quite, and protectionism is
it's coming back.
Coming back is a new phenomenon now. So it pushes back this kind of globalization, regionalization in different parts of the world, especially in Europe. Which is the kind of a source inspiration for ASEAN. So I think that is a challenge.
Well, like the pendulum. If you look at history, pendulum always swing. Before, during the Reagan Thatcher, it was a famous, Washington consensus. Everything that is public is no good. Everything that is private sector is the best. And that's why when during the Paris Peace Accord, you have all these big international institutions, UN coming to shovel our throat this Washington consensus, and we keep privatizing everything, So I think globalization was a great thing. That's why Cambodia joined WTO. Worked like hell to join. Now it's not a trend, but we have to expect that in our lifetime there'll be a few more swing.
That's right.
So good. So I think we're gonna take a short break, and when we come back, I want to start looking more at the micro level. Yes. Okay. Good. Okay. Vannarith, I think we cover quite a bit on the macro policy perspective, China ambition, at the meso level also ASEAN ambition to make sure that we remain central, that we keep our identity under the master plan of ASEAN connectivity. Let's touch a bit more at the micro level. What's the impact on our country? Of course, we are part of ASEAN. We are part of the Belt and Road. We are one of the co-founder of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. So we are part of it. We are part of it. What's your take on the impact on Cambodia?
I think first it's very difficult to define which project are under the category of Belt and Road projects. So if you look around Cambodia, I think there's no answer. Okay, I think the problem of the Belt and Road projects in Cambodia in general is the definition, how we define a certain project fall into the category of Belt and Road projects. So in Cambodia, if you ask which project are Belt and Road projects, officially the leader only mentioned 2 projects. Sihanoukville Special Economic Zone and the Phnom Penh Sihanoukville Expressway.
How about the airport?
Yeah,
in Siem Reap.
Siem Reap, maybe those mega project, big projects.
Okay.
So that is something that I think perhaps we need to come to a standard definition of Belt and Road projects.
But does China have a standard definition?
They don't have. They don't have.
Okay.
So that is a challenge, and they need to set a criteria, which project that China and the recipient country define as a Belt and Road projects.
You know, Vannarith, I cut you on this one,
Yeah.
because you see, when it's been 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Since the launch of the Belt and Road. In between, everybody is been sort of like democratizing that word, Belt and Road. You even have company who call themselves Belt and Road Company. You have Maritime Silk Road Company. But you ask them what it is, they have no clue what it is. So they feel, well, to get political traction, to get economic traction, popular traction, I must mention that I'm a Belt and Road. But when you ask the CEO, no clue.
Yeah.
So it's a good point that the Chinese government need to have a clearer definition on what it is a Belt and Road.
Yeah, that's right.
To me, when I visited Beijing last month, and I found out that the Belt and Road seems like become a slogan, a big slogan, like propaganda for China, like try to advertising itself by selling its product to the other countries. That's why I think Belt and Road maybe they find difficult to define clearly.
Well, that's probably
Yeah,
could be one of the reason it backfired.
yeah, this is a problem.
Because when you try to promote without clear guidance or criteria, there'll be the dark side of the opportunists
Exactly.
coming. Private sector, like I say, private sector profit is good. It's greed that kills. You know, some company, unscrupulous company, you know, try to, wow, now the Chinese government is promoting the Belt and Road. I'm gonna squeeze under, but they end up doing things that are not good for the Chinese government and for the country, for that matter. So this could be one of the suggestions that we could say, look, you know, let's clarify. Are you a Belt and Road company? But if you say so, do you have clearance? You have endorsement from the Chinese government?
That's right.
If you are not, you cannot.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
I think that this process is very critical in order to strengthen the quality of Belt and Road projects.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to environmental protection, social protection, and so on. How to ensure that the Belt and Road project really benefits the local people, and that the prestige of China can be earned.
Yes. Yeah. So for Cambodia, what is the perception now? The pros and cons. I mean, we have to be fair.
Yeah, the process. Yeah, I think Dr. Vannarith already mentioned about the mega infrastructure, like constructing the airport or the expressway, hydropowers. So of course, Cambodia needs all of this, and we are very positive about that. However, there's also the other side of the coins we should look at is the Belt and Road initiative seems like create a mixed feeling for Cambodians, especially those like living in the port city like Sihanouk. They do not benefit much. Those who benefit are mostly like landlord or landowners. They can benefit from that, but those who merely rely on the laborers, so they cannot benefit it.
But having said that, what can we as a country do to mitigate, to minimize, to find way? Because I'm pretty sure the intent of the Chinese government is good. I mean, to be fair, right? To be fair.
We know that the Chinese government has a very good intention, but the problem is we ourselves need to know what the challenges we are facing. So in order to do that, I think the Cambodian governments need to talk with the Chinese government what the problems we are facing. And for the time being, I think first of all, we need to talk about how the projects could benefit to the local people. Yeah. For example, tourism. How could we convince the Chinese government, for example, to convince that we should use the services provided by local Cambodian other than by the Chinese companies?
But doesn't it in our law though that we have a tourism law that tour guide have to be Cambodian? I mean, we have the law, but it's about how do our local ministry or provincial authority, how do they enforce
that
thing? I mean, you go to Angkor Wat, a similar thing. You know, why you have tour bus with foreign, not to be fair, Chinese. There's also Korean. There's also other country. They use their own tour guide. So the matter of enforcement is something else. I don't want to. I would say demonize you know a scheme because some local you know official don't implement the law. So to me it's more a domestic issue. But that's a good point. That's a good point that we should raise that.
Yeah, I think we should have a strategy or policy to force Chinese multinational companies to transfer knowledge,
yes.
Technology to the local people, provide capacity building like on-the-job training. I take example of Japanese company investing in Cambodia and other parts of the region. They provide, let's say, short-term training, 3 months, 6 months, for the local people, so that they could be employed in that factory, and the productivity also increase our time and on-the-job training. So I think Chinese companies should have on-the-job training in order, or create their own vocational training school, engineer or construction, those kind of basic skill, short term, so that will transfer this knowledge to the local people, and local people will benefit more from all these Chinese infrastructure project. And
well, I have to say, I talked to a few big Chinese construction company, and I did raise the same issue that you raised. But you know what they said? They say, yes, we have some labor because we need the speed of our construction, we need to move fast. But we have 60% of our Chinese labor, but we have 40% Cambodian worker. And after 2 or 3 major high-rise, 30-story, 40-story, they see that the Cambodian, the 40% worker, also learning how to make better construction, you know, like the steel, the whatever construction they do. So I think at the end of the day, right, I mean, try to find a balance is very important. The way I see, if you can manage to have a scale of balance this much, I'm happy. We'll never get this, but not this, not one-sided, but should be somewhere there, right? So I think the role of private sector is important. The role of the local partner, the Cambodian local partner, matter quite a bit. Because if they say, look, I'm your local joint venture partner, but if you don't help to defend the interests of your country, you cannot blame a foreign company. I still believe that private sector are after profit. If you do not check them, they will go for maximum profit. So the role for everybody there, the state, the private sector, us, civil society, think tank, how we share our opinion.
Actually, when you look at the law and regulation in China to oversize and manage the overseas investment project, is quite good. But the problem is those Chinese companies, they don't enforce their own law back home in Beijing. So I think perhaps for the Cambodian stakeholder to study Chinese law when it comes to overseas Chinese, and then try to hold the Chinese company accountable to their own law as well. So that is a thing. I think that is something that perhaps we need to look into. Also, it's not only domestic law in Cambodia, but you have a very good domestic law in China when it comes to overseas Chinese investment.
So I would say, grosso modo, like any grand scheme, you know, there are pros and cons. One can always point finger to the other side. You're not doing this, but we should also point finger to ourselves. Also, what can we do as a country? What can we do as a company, as a citizen, to make sure that we pass a concern, that we contribute in a way to development. But Thearith, I agree with you. A country that is growing at the rate we're growing now, I mean 7% for the last 20-some years, we require a lot of energy. We require a lot of construction. We require a lot of, I would say, employment, right? You know, securing employment for rising, young, working class is not easy. So you need source of growth. But with source of growth come also challenge, you know, like electricity, for example. When you have so much construction, there's not, we don't produce enough electricity. These are the things that we, a post-crisis country, I hate to use the word post-crisis, but I still think we are still in that post-crisis, because after 30 years, you still see that we're not stable yet. As other country like European country, something like this, you know, they didn't have war for the last 70 years. We barely emerged 30 years.
Yeah, I think Cambodia is still fragile to some extent when it comes to peace and stability. It just need a spark perhaps to destabilize the whole country. So,
and that's why it's important we maintain peace and stability
yeah.
foremost.
Yes.
And also economic development as well.
Yes.
Yeah, to make sure that this can strengthen the peace.
Yes, I would say without peace and security you cannot have development, you know. But you cannot have the cake and eat it too, I guess. But the main thing, I agree with you, Vannarith, that peace and stability is foremost for this country.
Exactly.
For me anyway, a guy who went through the killing field and everything, I don't want to see my kid go through that instability again. I don't want to see it. You know, maybe our growth, economic growth, is not perfect, but at least we have peace.
Yeah, I think in order to maintain peace and development, I think social justice is a key issue. It's not only an issue for Cambodia, but I think many countries, including the US and China, are also facing the social justice. What is social justice? About inclusiveness. So they feel that there's a gap between the rich and poor. They feel the gap between different religions, different beliefs and ethnicities. So this identity politics have become a new threat to the world peace and stability now. And Cambodia, when it comes to identity politics, is more economic identity politics. We don't have religious tension or ethnic tension. But the problem we're facing is the distribution of wealth is not fairly shared. The rich is so rich and the poor, and we have quite thin middle class. So that is something that we're facing. I think we need to lift up the bottom, make them to become middle class, and to ensure that the rich at the top need to contribute to the middle class and the people at the bottom. So that social justice can be strengthened, and our system, the government system, need to ensure that the social justice, social cohesion can be improved. So that is something I think also relate to the long-term peace and development for the country.
Yeah, I mean, last year I read a IMF report, and I was shocked because this is the IMF. I mean, and they say about the poverty rate in America, they say 40-some million Americans live below poverty line. I couldn't believe it. I said, what, America? There are 40 million people who live below poverty line. So you're right. I mean, every country, there are issues of poverty. So it's in China, and so in many pockets of different well-to-do countries, there are pockets of look at in France, the Yellow West. These are working class, you know. But why they demonstrated? Because of this inability to meet ends meet every month. So I think, all in all, if we can conclude, right, you know, on the Belt and Road, what is your take?
I think Belt and Road is a long-term project. It's a long-term vision, and we need mutual consultation and dialogue in order to learn from each other, and we should be daring to accept the critique and criticism in order to improve the projects. And this is not the project for the realization of the China dream. I think this is a project to realize the dream for humanities, for everyone,
including us,
including Cambodia. So this is our dreams too, to realize the proper implementation of the Belt and Road, to increase the quality, inclusiveness of Belt and Road, green Belt and Road. So that is something that I think as a member of Belt and Road we need to do our part to ensure that the Belt and Road project are clean, green and high quality.
Your last word.
Yeah, actually the Belt and Road initiative brings enormous benefit. We already discussed already, but the thing is how to bring more benefit and mitigate the risk. We should provide the consultative mechanism between the government of China and others, so including Cambodia. So we should continue consulting what the recipient needs and what China can offer. The consultative is very important.
That's a good word. Thank you for that. Perhaps I can wrap up by saying, moving forward, we should have a consultative forum on the Belt and Road for their project in Cambodia, so that this way our government, our ministry, our civil society, our private sector can air their concern and find some win-win.
Yes, yes.
So in a way, let's hope that with that comment, you know, the Belt Road 3.0, which is 2 years from now, I hope, when they convene again, there'll be some improvement in terms, more anything about perception.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Thearith, thank you so much. Yes. Okay. All right, we're coming to the end of our dialogue, and I hope the audience have a chance to appreciate a bit what the Belt Road is all about, what's the effect on the world, on the region, and but foremost on Cambodia, and what can we do to make sure that we extract maximum benefit and mitigate to the most whatever we can the impact of negative impact on our society. So thank you very much, and see you next week. Good night.